if your AD is not the main guy, it's like I'm gonna just play for just clear the wave and then looking for roaming. So I always check my AD carry, and then I check if this guy is main AD or got autofill. That's the most important thing. You like when you play solo queue.
Welcome to Challenger Insights, where we dive into the minds of the best League of Legends players to figure out how they think about the game. I'm your host, Lucas, and today I'm joined by Olleh. He's a support main currently playing for the Golden Guardians, and not only that, he reached rank 3 in Korean solo queue at the end of last season with nearly 1400 LP. He's also reached rank 1 in Brazil, Taiwan, and NA, so all around super impressive. He plays many support champions, of course, but his most played champion is Thresh, so that is what we'll be discussing today. Before we get started, if you want to get notified when a new episode releases, make sure you join the Challenger Insights Discord. Not only do we have an amazing community in there, you can also find transcripts for every episode. We do Q&As with our guests, and we'll be doing giveaways there as well. So if you're interested in any of that, the link for the Discord will be down below. Olleh, it's really awesome to have you here. Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Hello guys. Thank you for having me here. So I'm glad to join this podcast. It's my first time.
Awesome. All right, let's get started. First of all, I'd like to know, how would you describe Thresh in your own words?
I think Thresh is a champion that you can play aggressive and defensive. I think that's why Thresh has been like always be kind of OP picks, and I really think my Thresh is like it's like I can do anything. It's like I can go for hook. I can protect my team with my lantern. So I would say it's kind of perfect champion for support.
Okay, so an all-around champion that can do anything. Awesome. So what kind of sets Thresh apart from the other hook champions then? Compared to like Blitzcrank or Pike, for example, would you say that Thresh does the same thing or just a lot more? How would you compare them?
So I think the biggest difference between Thresh and other hook champion is the lantern. Because the lantern, Thresh can like protect his teammates like really insane way. It's like usually especially in high quality game, your teammates gonna die because the where he is, but the lantern just like ignore where he is. He just like click lantern and then back off. But when you think about Blitzcrank and Pike, both champions are really offensive and they can make some play, but there's no like really hard to protect his teammates.
Okay, interesting. All right. So if you were to compare yourself to like the average Thresh player, how do you play him differently, and what kind of gives you an advantage?
So like when I just first played Thresh, I was the one who just like play super aggressive, like always look for hook, always look for Q flash. So I was the one who just like always look for that play. But later and later, I start to figure out some point. It's like there's some moments that you even though you hook, it doesn't mean anything. So I should keep the position like behind to ready to throw the lantern for teammates. So my big advantage compared to other player is like I know when to play aggressive or when to play defensive. So yeah, I think that's like really important.
Okay, that's interesting. So would you say that most people just stick to this aggressive style and they're never really thinking about when they should be focusing on, the position that they lanterned from?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. In that case, don't you run the risk of being too passive if you're just in the back ready to lantern? You still need to exert pressure in the lane, right?
Yeah. So that's the like really hard thing to kind of figure out, especially in high quality game, like high MMR game. It's like if you just back off, enemies start to like walk up forward, and if you don't back off, you are giving them to chance to gank you. So it's really hard to say what's right, what's wrong. But I think that's the like really important thing, that if you really want to get high MMR or get challenger, you should know that what's right, what's wrong at that slight moment. So also, it's like I kind of giving them like Roxy's paper game. It's like, oh, maybe this guy is doing fake, or this guy just back off for just lantern. So it's kind of hard to say. It's like this guy just back off for just being safe, or just back off for kind of fishing me up. You know?
Yeah, I do like that though. So it's not so much that you're, just constantly staying back, but you're really just kind of weaving in and out and testing the waters, I guess, right? Cool. All right. What other common mistakes do you see other Thresh players make that you know how to avoid?
So I think before Thresh was like really really broken, and then Riot start to figure out, wow, Thresh has insane win rate and the pick rate, and Riot start to nerf. So Thresh is not like before. Thresh just like can just flash and then level 2 with ignite. I could just kill everyone, but nowadays Thresh is not that much strong as before, so it has to be more kind of safe to play. So I think nowadays what I saw from other Thresh is like they still think like they are strong as before, and they start to play aggressive at level 1 to 3, and then once they die, game is just over. So I think now I just when I get Thresh in solo queue, I don't play like crazy as before. I just play like, okay, I play for lantern. Okay, I'm gonna ready for hook. If I miss, I'm not gonna go forward. It's like I think it's more likely kind of blitz crank way. It's like when you play blitz, if you miss hook, you don't go for it, right? But before, it's like even though you miss Thresh hook, you can still kill enemy with the flay and auto attack. But I don't see that nowadays. It's like if you miss Thresh hook, you should just back off. Otherwise, it's like Thresh is not strong as before, and once you die, game is just over.
Hmm. All right. So what you're saying is basically people seem to overestimate Thresh's early damage, right? And
Yeah,
just throwing hooks all the time as a result. Okay. Interesting. All right. Um, Another question I wanted to ask, since you play so many different support champions, when should you actually pick Thresh? So, like, which compositions or situations is he actually good in, and which ones would you not pick him in?
I think in high MMR game, it's like usually Thresh getting banned, but Thresh is a champion that you don't want to give them to play. You know, it's like if you see enemy pick Thresh, you know, even though you know Thresh got nerf and then you can pick whatever champion into, but it's just like look at the picture or the draft on enemy. It's like just annoying, isn't it? So it's like I think Thresh is kind of weird position right now. You don't want to give, or so you don't actually just want to first pick right away. But because I don't want to give them to play Thresh, so I just play Thresh.
Okay, so he basically he can be played at any comp, and it doesn't really matter. It's just more about you want to first pick it.
Yeah.
Okay. That's funny. All right. So since you've played a lot in both Korea and NA, I was wondering what kind of differences do you see between the regions, and especially when it comes to how people play the support role?
So first of all, it's like when I play Korea solo queue, it's like people were just like spamming game before the season ended. Like every day, it's like I find solo queue and then I got a game around 5 minutes, even though I was like rank 10. And when I play NA server, it's like sometime after 11 p.m. I cannot find the game. It's like I literally wait for 1 or 2 hours and I still couldn't get a game. If you are in Korea, you're gonna have more games than in NA. I think that's the really really biggest difference. And when it comes to the support role, it's like when you check the NA server, it's like not everyone, but you will see some people just like playing some random stuff like Jana, Sona. It's like some Meiji stuff, but In Korea solo queue, if you just play no meta support, you are not get the challenger at all. Like really, really hard to get the challenger or MMR. So it's like usually after you get a challenger, you will only see them playing the meta champion or unless they are one trick insane player like, you know, some famous Korean one trick player. In Korea solo queue, when you check the replay, they only play the highest win rate champion like nowadays Thresh, Leona, Rakan, Lulu, like those champions. You will only see them. It's not like they don't know other champion. They just pick the highest win rate champion. So it's like let's say I can play 10 champions, but when it comes to Korean solo queue, I will always consider playing like 4 to 5 champions. I'm not gonna play other 5 champions because they are not the meta. But when I play in NA, it's like people just pick random shit, and I don't know. I just like okay, fine. I'm gonna play whatever. I think that's the big difference. I think.
Would you say, like, is that a good thing or is it a bad thing? You say that in NA, people just pick random stuff, but wouldn't you say that it's good to experiment with a lot of different champions? Um, what's your thought on that?
It's like when I saw the new meta coming, is usually from EU because they're trying new stuff a lot. But in Korea, I think they are more conservative to pick something random, something new. So the good stuff in Korea solo queue is like people are picking the meta champion, and then it's kind of same as the what is that LCK or Scream. Like the game quality is like pretty high, but it's like when you go to other region, it's like okay, they're trying new stuff. Okay, maybe they can make something new, but the game quality is not like the stage game. So, I think what I think is like sometimes the Korea solo queue quality is like kind of higher than other regions scream. So that's why people consider, coming to Korea and then practice or boot camp here, right? Because when they play here, they feel like the game quality is higher than their Scream game in other regions.
That's super cool. I didn't know that. All right. Yeah, let's let's get back to Thresh for a bit. So, just before we really get into it, what runes and summoners are you usually running on Thresh?
So I think it's like usually I go for Ignite. I think 80% I go Ignite. I think only time I go Aegis will be when I play with the Apelios and then when enemy has the like Odin combo, because Apelios gonna outscale anyway, and if enemy just doesn't one shot Apelios, Apelios just gonna clean up everyone. So I think only that moment I go Aegis. Besides that, I usually go Ignite and then look for kills.
Okay. And when it comes to runes, what's your usual rune page?
Uh, I think 70% I go Guardian, 30% I go Aftershock. Usually I go Aftershock when enemy can one shot me. So it's like when enemy has like Kaisa Leona or Samira Alistar. It's like when they can actually one shot me, I go Aftershock. Sometime I was thinking about the Predator or nowadays the Glacier, but I do think like Predator is okay against the some mage support that you can just like spamming roaming and then make some play. But I think Glacier is also okay. But I don't have that much game on Glacier Thresh, so it's hard to comment on this. But yeah, I think I still go for Guardian. Maybe I'm a boomer, but yeah.
All right, fair enough. Yeah, let's talk about the laning phase for a bit. I have quite a few questions about this. Just to start things off, what's your goal for the first few levels in the laning phase?
So usually, Thresh can get level 2 advantage in against like most of matchup. So like level 1, I just always try to get level 2 advantage, and then when I get level 2, always look for hook, or if enemy just doesn't back off right away, I just flash forward and then just try to kill them. So I think usually the Thresh has to always try to get the early level advantage and they get the laning winning like position. And yeah, I think usually the most important thing is a level 1, 2, 3. And usually also the another kind of good tip is like when you get level 2, don't just point up the Q right away because usually people go E level 1 E and then level 2 Q. But usually when you start to push the wave, enemy jungle start on another side, didn't get leash, they end up coming bot at level 3. So I usually don't point Q right away and just like, oh, if enemy jungle can come, I just like give point on my lantern. So usually when enemy just like, oh, my jungle is coming, ball, okay, I'm gonna flashy, and then somehow I just throw the lantern, and then they just like literally waste 1 minute. The summary is like get level 2 advantage. Check enemy jungle coming or not. If jungle can come bot, I ready for lantern. If not, I go for uh hook and then play more aggressive. So it's like Thresh. The good thing is like you can play aggressive or passively. It's like up to the situation. So you always have to think what's your score at before the first base.
Okay. Let's go back to that. What you said earlier that you always want to get a level 2 advantage so that you can have that nice level 2 engage. How do you actually get that advantage? Are you actively pushing the wave along with your AD carry to get that, or are you leaving it up to them?
So usually the Thresh always get the Targon. Usually I don't pop right away. I save 2 stacks for next 2 melee minions. So before second wave coming, I start to auto enemy support or enemy aid carry just like because Thresh has the insane damage with the E passive. So yeah, I just like throw like hit them, and the enemy just back off. And when next wave coming, I start to hit the melee minion, and then try to get the level 2 advantage for sure. And yeah, like if you are the Thresh player, I think you know how to do this for sure.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I I like that. I haven't thought about just using the Targon stacks to fast fast clear the second wave and get it that way. All right, so are there like what are you always doing this whatever the matchup, or are there some cases where you're not really going for this? You mentioned like the jungler influence and sometimes you're going for W instead, but are there some matchups where you would not want to do this either?
I think it's just all up to situation. It's hard to say when to go double, when to go Q. Basically, you should read the map, what's going on in the game, and you have to decide you are going for hook, you are going for lantern.
Okay. Oh yeah, that makes sense. Um, when you do go for a hook, like just in general, not just a level 2, are you mostly using your hook to like get really good short traits, or are you always looking for an all-in? Like, how do you generally use your hook?
Usually, I think like in early game, and then you have ignite. Usually, you are looking for all in, but if not, you just go for a smart trade. But it's like if I have ignite, I will just go for all in most of the time.
Okay. When you do land your hook, I I watch some of your replays, and I almost never see you use the second part of your hook where you're gonna go in with that, even when you're going for an all-in. Why is that? Why do you not use that?
So before Thresh could just like fly right away, but as I say, the Thresh got nerf like lots of time, so Thresh is not like really tanky as before. So if you just like use second Q, your position is not safe anymore. So you are actually jumping into enemy area, and then you're gonna just die. So I most of time I die. Like I had the experiment games a lot, and then whenever I just pop the second Q and then just I literally just die in 1 second, especially 5v5 situation. So yeah, it's like if you hook, you can just like just slowly walk up and then you can flay. So you don't need to actually fly to hit the flay.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I figured it'd be something like that. Cool. All right. So when it comes to your passive, how important are the souls to you? So, for example, in the lane, if there's a soul there, but you'd have to walk up to get it, do you go for it? What's your thoughts on that?
I think this is also really like when I saw other Thresh player, it's like sometimes they don't give a fuck about this. But Thresh armor, it doesn't scare like other champions. You should gather the souls to get armor. Otherwise, you're just squishy as f. So I always like whenever the soul coming, and then I just think like you know, usually when Thresh walk up forward to gather soul, enemy usually think, oh, Thresh looking for hook instead of Thresh gonna gather soul. So it's like, for my side, it's like I'm just getting soul, but for enemy side, it's like they start to get freaked out. It's like, oh my god, Thresh gonna hook for me. So it's okay to get soul in laning phase unless the soul is too far away. So I think most of the time I just look for soul, and the Thresh player forget about it. It's like there are two souls coming off after you kill Dragon or Herald or Baron. Sometimes it's like I saw the replay. It's like literally you do Dragon and then you record, but you don't gather the Dragon Soul. It's like you can just throw Lantern and base at the same time, but people just don't get it. So what I usually do is like I do Dragon together, and then I just base like next to Dragon if it's safe, or I just throw the Lantern and base. So I get two Soul and Liquor at the same time. So I think lots of Thresh player don't really actually care much as I saw.
Okay, but you care about it quite a bit. That's interesting.
I care about it, yeah.
Cool. All right. Yeah. One thing I also wanted to ask in the laning phase, when it comes to the matchup, is there like a big difference between going against an enchanter support or another engage support? Like, do you significantly change how you play the lane based on that?
So basically, it's like when I play Thresh, what enemy can do is like they're gonna pick Blitz, or they go for like Lux, some mage support can just like try to beat me in early game. But so it's like usually in Korea solo queue, if I pick Thresh, what enemy gonna pick is like they usually pick Lux, like Caitlyn Lux, or they're gonna pick like Jinx Blitz or Caitlyn Blitz. It's like something that can one shot Thresh. It's like if my enemy is like mage support, my job is like don't get chunk before I engage. Always try to be full HP, and then kind of moving around the bush, and then always ready to hook with the full HP. That's my job. And if enemy is like engage support, then my job is like I always don't get engaged by them, and they're ready for lantern. So it's like against mage, Thresh can play aggressively and then try not to lose HP. That's my job. Against the engage support, my job is like don't give them engage situation, and they're always ready for protect my AD.
Okay. Does that kind of also it kind of comes back to what you said earlier, where sometimes as Thresh, you're not playing as aggressive and you're really just looking for good moments to lantern. I guess when the enemy is playing an engaged support, you're even more looking for that, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. And lastly, on the same note, how does the AD carry that you're playing with factor into that? Like, do you change how aggressive you are, for example, based on the AD carry that you have?
So usually when I play solo queue, it's like I always check my AD carry, and then I check if this guy is main AD or got autofill. That's the most important thing. You like when you play solo queue, and then if your AD is like most of the time it's gonna be main AD carry, then I kind of play more confident. Like, we can beat 2v2, so I play more aggressive. But if Mighty Carry is not the main guy, it's like kind of, usually you're gonna get like support player playing AD, and then they just pick Ziggs or Jhin. Usually they pick these two champion and they try to go 50-50 somehow. So I'm gonna just play for just clear the wave and then looking for roaming. So yeah, I basically do this two different way.
Okay. That's kind of funny. I was asking about the champion picks, but it makes a lot of sense to just look up the player instead. That's a good approach as well. All right, let's switch gears a little bit and talk about the items. So first of all, from what I can tell, you pretty much always rush Moby Boots on Thresh. So my question is, what makes Moby Boots better than other items? If other items would give you combat stats like health, for example.
So basically, when you play Thresh or when you play against Thresh, it's like the Thresh is the skill is already great. The hook is great, play great, lantern is just most OP skill in League of Legends. So it's like Moby Boot is really important for Thresh because where you are is the most important thing to know as a Thresh. So it's like if you have Moby Boot, you can roam faster than enemy, and then you can get to top first, you can go to mid first, or you can get into their enemy jungle and then look for a hook inside of their jungle. It's like Moby Butch can give you lots of anger to make play. Also, because Moby Butch, you can run away faster. If enemy just like TP behind, you just run away and then just lantern to your teammates. It's like Moby Butch does really a lot, but still, maybe some people gonna think like, oh, why not CD shoes? And then you're gonna have more flash earlier. But I think most of time, I think or Thresh player usually go for Moby Boots because if Thresh is too slow, it's like in game what you're gonna feel like. Oh, what if I have Moby Boots here? It's like you're gonna have this moment a lot when you have other shoes. It's like, oh, what if I have Moby shoes? I could already kill enemy top. What if have Moby Boots here? I could already get into their jungle and then look for hook, and then before dragon I could end the game. I think that's why people go for Moby Boots on Thresh.
Okay. I guess it's really about like all the opportunities you get that you otherwise really wouldn't have if you didn't have movies. That's
Yeah.
interesting. So yeah, when it comes to roaming, well, first of all, my question is like, when should you roam? Like, what says to you that it's a good moment to go for a roam?
So basically, the best moment to roam is like when you don't have to care about your AD carry. So usually when your AD carry is like recalling, then you can just go for roam. And if you are the better player, you just start to roam when your AD carry can clear wave for sure. If you want to roam, you need to know when to roam the moment. It's like your AD carry is safe and your jungle is both side, and you can make some play because it's like let's say your mid is recalling and then you are going bot, and even though you roam to mid, you have nothing. Like your jungle is top side, your mid is recalling, you have nothing to do on bot, like or going to mid, you have nothing. So that's not the moment for roaming. So you should just try to care about your AD carry more. But usually when you first base, your mid will be just like doing laning page. You have to see the lane and then kind of check if you can do something there. And if you are sure you can do something, it's like let's say enemy mid has no like move skill. Like let's say they are playing Victor, and then your mid is playing LeBlanc. So if LeBlanc has some finger, you can land the hook after LeBlanc E for sure. So it's like it's all situational. But let's say your mid is like playing Victor, and then enemy mid is playing LeBlanc. Even though you are playing Thresh, you cannot make play. So your job is not looking for killing mid. Your job should be getting vision around mid or gather together with the jungler and then do something. And then, but most important thing to know as a roaming situation is like your AD carry is safe, or your AD carry don't need you. It's like usually nowadays when Jigs came out, support start roaming 24/7 because You don't need to care about the jigs. Jigs just throw Q and then do it fine. So if you want to roam, you always have to check your AD carry is safe or not. And if yes, you can start to roam. And then you also have to check what you can do around mid, around top, around jungle. Then, yeah, you always have to answer the question what you can do with the roaming.
Okay, I like that. If there isn't anything to do, and also you don't really need to be bot lane, what are you usually doing? Like, are you just going for vision, or are you recalling more than often? Like, if your AD carry is just fine clearing waves, but also the enemy mid laner is LeBlanc, what do you do in that case?
Then usually the around 8 minute, because the nowadays Herald is really really important. So usually after second base, I usually get the Moby shoes and then go to Herald and get vision around Herald. So yeah, usually looking for the fight 4v4 on top side. So yeah, and then get the vision. And if I'm earlier than enemy, I just stay kind of forward and look for hook on enemy support coming to get the vision. So it's kind of like tempo fight. It's like who's gonna be there first, and then are you gonna hook them or not? Are you gonna wait for them to engage? It's like kind of, there are so many situations that I cannot actually explain what's right, or just for one case. But usually around 8 minute I go for Herald, and if there's no Herald, I always try to group up with my jungler and then make some play with jungler.
Okay, that's interesting. Just thinking about already thinking about Herald at 8 minutes as a support is is interesting. I don't think a lot of people really do that. Um, okay, if there are a lot of roam opportunities and you're going for them, do you not get behind on XP? Do you worry about that, or how do you make sure you don't fall behind on that?
So usually after level 6 you are kind of same champion. It's like level 6 Thresh, level 7 Thresh, kind of same, It's like when you see your AD is like level 6, enemy AD level 7, you're gonna feel like a lot difference. So I think support kind of lower level, it doesn't actually mean much unless like level 3 or level 4. But usually I think I never get behind just roaming, because if I'm roaming, that means enemy support has to roam. Otherwise, game is just gonna be broken. So I don't think it's like, let's say I'm roaming 24/7 and the enemy support just like stick to their bot and they're just doing nothing. Then I'm gonna just kill enemy top, kill their jungle, kill enemy mid. So that game will be super easy for us. So in the Korean challenger game, when I roam, of course enemy is roaming too. So it's gonna be always same level as enemy support.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Like either it's going to be the same or it's just a really good trade-off and you get a lot off of it. I like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. I guess this was a long talk about mobies and roaming. I just want to finish up with the other items. So after mobies, you're obviously going to go for your mythic. What options do you have for that?
So actually, after patch, the people were talking about the even shroud, right? But even before got nerf, I was still thinking like the rocket is better than shroud IMO, because it's like you hook or you flay enemy getting more damage. But Thresh, I think rocket is like you don't need to hook, you don't need to flay or anything. You just need to click. Then you're gonna give shield for your teammates. So I think it's like 90% I will go look at for Thresh, because also what I care is like, can I fish enemy? It's like, because the most like strong CC is the low HP. It's like, just imagine there is a 5% HP Thresh moving around. You are going for kill. But if you have rocket and the enemy just like jump in to kill me, I just pop rocket and then fish them to die. So I think rocket, I don't know. I prefer to rocket instead of even shroud. So
Okay. Um, So yeah, I guess yeah, it makes sense that Locket is your preferred choice. Are there any other mythics you would ever run? Like I think I've seen you do Shurelias once. What is your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So if enemy, so let's say you are playing against Rakan, and then you have to. I always think like, okay, should I go Shrelia match, and then just like when enemy just pop Shrelia, I just pop at the same time and then run away, or I just use Locket and then kind of try to absorb the damage. But late game the 300 shield not gonna save your AD if enemy can just like five people can jump into. So some matchup I go for Shrelia for just to match the move speed. So it's like Rakan just like Shrelia and then run faster to kill me. I just like Shrelia at the same time and then see ya, you know. So yeah, I think just to match the Shrelia I go for Shrelia sometimes.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I like that. And then for items after your mythic, what items are you usually building on Thresh?
So usually I think the chain is the most efficient item as I calculate. So I think I go for chain because it's really tanky and then kind of more CC time is like I think really good. And if I just play like Meiji style Thresh, I go for redemption and then just like look at and redemption for team fight.
Okay. So when you mention chain, you mean anathemas, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Do you ever build Knight's Vow, or is it do you always like do you most of the time just prefer redemption?
I think Nightbow is really good item, and I built Nightbow on other support like Leona or like whatever tank support. But Nightbow, let's say you put on the AD, and then your AD get the damage, you lose HP. But the most important thing is like you are losing move speed. So that's why I don't go with Nightbow on Thresh, even though I know it's good item. So it's like just imagine in team fight, you have mobile boots, you're moving fast, and then try to get the good position, and then somehow you're able to get the damage from poking, and then you lose mobile speed. You feel so bad. So I don't want to get just like you know, I don't want to get that low move speed in just random situations, so I don't buy it.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. I hadn't thought of that. That's interesting. All right, cool. Yeah, awesome. Finally, let's talk about the mid and late game for a bit. So when it's later into the game, what is kind of Thresh's role at that point?
So usually mid late game, you will never look for walk of four to hook. So I think late game, what Thresh should do is just look for hook, be like under the vision, clear the vision, and then you just kind of throw hook when enemy just walking forward to get the vision aggressively. Then you start to fight, but you will never just like walk forward in front of their face and they throw the hook, you're gonna die because it's not the tanky anymore. So usually what I do is I always look for lantern. I think lantern is going to be my number one job for my AD carry, especially late game. And second is like always look for hook when enemy just try to get the vision. I think I usually focusing on these two job. No more just play aggressive because I'm not tanky anymore.
Okay. Let's talk about the hook a bit first. So I guess most of the time you're just actively clearing vision and then waiting, for the enemy to place it again so you can get them, right? How do you make sure that you're constantly getting that vision without, leaving your team too much? And how do you do both? How do you clear vision and make sure that you're able to lantern your AD carry?
So usually it's about the macro. Mid late game usually one team getting top side vision and the other team usually get the bot side vision. So it's gonna be kind of split the map. But if enemy like let's say I'm getting top side vision and then if enemy just try to save the top side vision and that's how the fight occurs. So yeah, it's like you have to understand what's your team's plan. Because the plan you should get the vision around that and you need to see what enemy gonna react. It's like they gonna look for vision fight or they gonna just get the another side vision. If I'm Thresh, I usually kind of in the winning situation. So I always get to choose the side that I'm getting vision earlier than enemy. So let's say I'm getting topside vision. And then when I get the topside vision, enemy choice is two. First, come to my side or go to another side. But if they go to another side, I'm getting objective for free. So if the enemy want to contest, they have to come to my side. And then that time I'm there to look for my hook. So it's like enemy is like kind of have some risk playing against my hook. And if they get hook, I hook, they die, we get better. If they go another side, we get free better. So it's kind of, I'm always doing the winning situation.
Okay. As a follow-up to that, how about if you're on the other side? If you're on the losing side and the enemy is kind of using the strategy against you, right? They're controlling the vision for the objective that they want to get. How do you handle that? How do you actually manage to get in? Or do you just always give it up? Like, what do you think of that?
So that time it's like what my teammates can do is really matters, because let's say my team is like team fight comp, then I will just go, I will bring my teammates and we look for 5v5, and then we go mid and we get to Baron side vision together like as a group. Then we can kind of clean up the vision, and then we start to up and down the vision fight. Okay, I get vision, and after record they get vision. It's a kind of bounce and bounce. But if my team is not the team fight come, that time the really hard situation coming up. It's like if you are losing team fight and then if you don't win, like maybe you just have to wish you are winning the split. Then your job is like just try to get shallow vision and then kind of look for the another side play. And then if enemy just like randomly start to baron, we should kind of punish their baron. That's all I can do. It's like I cannot just be Superman, try to turn the table that game. So my job is like always be aware enemy can do baron, but still not gonna die by enemy support, hiding on bush. It's just I think it's also really up to the situation, but the good support can win that losing situation, I believe. So I always kind of challenge myself to win that type of game.
Interesting. Yeah, I like the I guess it really is about, making sure that your team is on the same page and also looking at whether you can win it. Um, if you do think that going in as a group will actually work, are you just actively pinging that and making sure that your team is on the same page with you? Like, do you shot call that, or are you kind of trying to feel it out and see what your team thinks?
I think when I got this year when I got rank 3 that highest peak, I literally ping every moment, like where is the enemy jungle? I ping, and then support roam me ping, and hey guys, we get vision here, ping. It's like I was doing all shuffling like as I can, but I think if I really want to win, I think I just ping a lot. But after the season, I just start to just like not pinging much because it's kind of eating my brain energy a lot. That's what I feel. It's like if I just start to ping and then start to make shako, it's kind of like 2 or 3 times more energy than just playing solo queue by itself. So, but if I really want to win, who care about the energy? Just do my best.
All right, I like that. Yeah, that makes sense. Cool. So when you do go for a team fight, so let's say you're looking for a 5v5, what are you kind of paying attention to, and what is Thresh's role during a team fight?
So first one I'm kind of looking at myself is looking at the game. It's like should I look for hook or should I just protect my AD? That's the first question coming into the team fight. And if I have to protect my AD carry, I always look for my AD carry position, not look for other teammates. And or if I have to engage, then I always look for who's gonna be first. Then I'm gonna throw hook after he put the CC on the enemy. So yeah, usually I check these two situation.
Okay. If you do have to protect your AD carry, does that mean that you're generally like kind of in the back line and making sure that you can lantern them out? And what do you do? Like, is that where you're positioning? And if it is, do you then kind of go in after, or do you keep uh do you keep staying with your AD carry?
So I think in team fight, I usually kind of stay kind of next to my AD carry, not behind much, because when the fight start, then I can still protect my AD carry and look for hook at the same time. So I think my position will be always around my hook range plus my lantern range. So usually kind of middle of my team.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Is just kind of in the position where you can do everything, where all the options are available, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, cool. You mentioned earlier that you're usually trying to control vision in order to get a good hook. Are there any situations where you're more proactive, where you're willing to just straight up engage?
If my team is like on the number advantage, it's like usually always engage gonna work when it comes to 5v4, 4v3. It's like when you have number advantage, I throw the hook or I just even flash play because number advantage is the main reason you are winning the team fight. So let's say your top is like pushing the wave and then walking to the dragon, and the enemy top is answering the wave. Enemy top has no TP, so at that moment, if you engage, the fight gonna be 5v4 no matter what, right? Because enemy top is answering the wave. So you when I see the number advantage 100%, then I start to fight right after I see.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. All right. Last but not least, I wanted to discuss kind of a high level view of the game and how you look at it. And my first question for that is, how do you get better at the game?
Simple way is just play more games. It's like it's kind of same as the study is, maybe some people gonna can approach it. It's like how you study is really matter, but the thing is like how long time you study. It's like let's say A students like study 12 hours, B students study 16 hours. Who gonna be better? you know it's like of course 16 hours because they, well, I don't know what A gonna do for 4 hours, but at least this B guy just like play more, so I think how do I get better is like just play more games, because when you play more games you will find your weakness, your strengths, and then especially you can get the feedback if you have coach, or if you can check yourself, so you can get better just like learning from your mistake. So I think just like play more game, that's it. Yeah.
All right. In that case, there are a lot of people who play a lot of games, but they still are in like, I don't know, bronze or silver, and they're not learning. How would you explain that, and what kind of advice would you give to those people?
So let's say you want to go to university, you have to do some study the exam, right? So it's like before the SAT, you're gonna get the kind of previous SAT test. It's like, oh, what's my rank, So you're gonna take the kind of testing situation, and then oh, you get the kind of shitty score. Then what you gonna do? Okay, I fail mathematics, I fail this, so I'm gonna work on this. That's the feedback. It's like, okay, I'm really fucking bad at landing page. Okay, that's the mathematic, I guess. And then you just like start to get the feedback, and then start to research or study how to get better in landing page. And then you play, you get the test again. That's kind of a rank game again. You get it again, and then oh, landing page got better. Okay, I got the gold, but okay, after landing page, I fucked up. I don't know what to do. Okay, then I start to figure out roaming and the vision fight. Okay, I gotta study again. So study, study, study. And then, after got the feedback and then fix the problem, you start to get the diamond. I think it's like most of people, if you just play for fun, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. You wanna have same level because you never get the feedback, you never get try to be the better, then of course you're gonna get stuck in your silver, like diamond or gold, whatever, because you never try to be better, never try to get the feedback or learning. So like if you really want to get better, try to get the feedback from other people or watch other people replay. What's the difference between this guy and the challenger guy? Oh, maybe I was missing this part. Okay, I'm gonna add this and then I'm gonna think about this. I think that's how you get better at anything. It's like not even game. It's like if you wanna better at singing, then you have to get the feedback and then you fix it, right? So I think it's kind of simple, but people don't do it because it's kind of take lots of energy.
Yeah, it's simple, but it's also hard to do.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Awesome. Another question I have for you, especially so since you play a lot of solo queue, but you're also playing competitively. From your perspective, what are kind of like the major differences between the two? And is that something that you you have to adjust to? Is like different what kind of game you're playing to you, or is it the same?
It's like solo queue is like you are matching with random 9 people, right? And it's like, one time they're gonna be your enemy, and the next game they can be your team. So it's like whatever situation coming up, you should adapt the situation to win the game. But the competitive one is like you are playing with same person, like literally, unless they change player roster every day, it's like not gonna happen, right? So you wanna play with the same 4 people together, and then enemy is also doing same, like 9 RC team gonna do same thing, same player, they gonna work together how to win the game together. It's like it's more challenging than solo queue, I think. It's like the team chemical are also important, how you talk to people, how to care about teammates mental energy, and it's kind of complicated, but yeah. So it's like, I think every team has really a pick for just like nice people, I guess. And yeah, it's like try to find the harmony. I think that's biggest difference.
Interesting. Yeah, I could see that. Like solo queue, really, in comparison, would be almost like a very individual experience where you're focusing mostly on yourself. Whereas, I guess even if you're evaluating games at like the pro stage, you're doing it as a team, right? And you're looking at everyone at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, it's like solo queue is like really simple. If you do better job, like if you do your job 100%, it's like highly you're gonna win, because it's like if enemy support doing 80%, I'm doing 100%. If I'm losing this game, that means my other 4 people are fucking up, right? Then just accept. Thank you, next. But when it comes to pro game, it's like you have to do your job 100%, but still, if you can care about your team, you have to go for care together. It's like watching the like replay together with the jungler, watching the both 2v2 matchup with the AD carry. It's like really more jobs to do.
Awesome. I like that. Cool. Yeah, finally, I guess on a personal note, from what I understand, you actually took some time away from League, but now you're back. So my question is, how do you feel about that? And has that kind of given you a fresh look on the game? How do you see the game now?
I mean, it's like I took it's like more than 6 months. It's like break doing other stuff. But that time, what I realized is like when I play League of Legends, it's like I play and then I check the time. It's like already 10 hours gone. It's like what the fuck? It's like that kind of like time machine for me. It's like League of Legends was like time machine. That's what I realized. It's like it's like when I don't feel the time going on doing something, that means that I'm really into it. And when I did other job, I felt the time. It's like, damn, what the fuck? I did so much, but fucking 2 hours only. So that time I kind of figure out, it's like, oh, I love to play League of Legends, and why did I just like run away from League scene? That's what I love. And okay, let's try again. And yeah, if I don't get rank 10, I'm gonna fucking retire right away. And yeah, I just made it. And I didn't expect actually 100%, but you just gave me the chance to play. And yeah, I mean, like, I really feel like I'm super lucky. It's like with this passion back, and if I can play LCS, then it's like my mindset is like I have nothing to lose. It's like I burn my bridge behind, and then just like fuck it, I'm gonna just win everything. So I'm really, I feel like my brain is like kind of washed up in good way. It's like I'm back to 20 years old brain, and then just like love to play this League of Legends. So yeah, I mean, really, really fresh for me. It's like I feel like I'm a rookie on League of Legends now.
I love that. So I guess it's a newfound love for the game, and that's amazing. All right, yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing how you do this upcoming season. I'm rooting for you.
Yeah, thank you, thank you.
Awesome. All right, let's close this off. I have one last question, and that is going to be, what is the best Thresh skin?
I think the what's it the latest one. There's the dragon thresh. Is I think it's so cool. It's like when you base, there's a dragon coming up. So it was like kind of dark start thresh on me, but I think the dragon thresh seems cooler than the dark thresh.
All right, awesome. Cool. Yeah. Thank you so much for being on this podcast. This has been really awesome. Where can people find out more about you?
I mean, nowadays I'm just kind of taking a break from streaming, but you guys can find me on Twitch on Olleh, and just you can find me on Twitter Olleh, Instagram Olleh. I got lucky to get the Olleh, the unique nickname, hello backward. So yeah, you can just easily find me. Just Google Olleh. So yeah, you can find me there.
Awesome. All right. That's it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. Be sure to join the Discord for announcements, Q&As, and other events. And lastly, I read every comment and I would love to hear from you. So comment below what you think of this episode or who I should interview next. All right. Thanks for watching.